Welcome into a very special edition of the Cubs Now podcast. We're calling this the State of the Union.
That's right.
We're at the break. It's not exactly halfway through the season. Lance Brozdowski alongside Alex Cohen. We're going to rip into this very simply. We'll talk a full block of hitting here, about 12 minutes, then go into pitching, recapping, and a bit of projection here. Okay. Your impressions overall on the hitting side, Alex, before I get into some of the numbers are what?
You know, obviously it's been an up and down season from an offensive standpoint. The first month of the season, March and April, top 5 in the league. Month of May, they were putrid. Horrendous. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat. They were bad, and they were a bottom 5 offense in the league. In June, the first 10 games in June, they were okay. The last 15 games in June, they were great. And then in July, they've been pretty much what they were at the end of June. So on the positive end, 75% of the season, they've been a top 5 offense in baseball. The only bad part is 25% of the season, they've been a bottom 5 offense in baseball. It's been inconsistent. I think if you would say the word that would describe the 2026 Cubs offense is inconsistent at this point.
Yeah, I guess it's funny because I do feel like living it day to day, it's felt inconsistent, but I am a bit surprised to see them. They're the second best team from an offensive production standpoint in WRC+. So that's kind of encapsulating everything you do from a run production standpoint, not caring too much about like RISP stuff. And I know
but if you look at
all
all of their numbers, and it's not just the WRC+, it's OPS, on-base percentage, slug, home runs, walks, batting average, hits, runs scored.
Yeah, they're up there.
They are top 10 in pretty much every single major meaningful statistical category.
Yeah, I would say that the thing that jumped out to me, what's driving a lot of the production, and perhaps the reason why maybe it feels like they've been less productive than they have been, is that they walk a lot. 11% walk rate right around there. First in Major League Baseball. They've been first for probably the last 2 months or so. I feel like I check this maybe every couple weeks. They're also the second most passive team in baseball, so their swing rate is the second lowest. I believe the lowest is actually the Brewers, which is kind of a funny nugget in terms of the 2 NL Central teams. So the passivity drives OBP, but I think that's why the critique around how they have done with stranding runners on base and all these other elements. You see all these tweets about Ian Happ being stranding a bunch of runners in Bregman. It's because they're walking a ton. Like, everyone is on base all the time with this team. Now, if you keep doing that, I imagine the bet here is like, hey, second half, this will even out. Risks will get better. If you go just merely back to league average, then run production, raw run production really jumps up. So I would say I approach it a little more positively, where I get the day-to-day has felt weird, but when you look at the season as a whole so far, they've been like incredible. Like, there aren't a lot of ways the season could have broke better from a purely offensive standpoint.
Well, also
than they have,
they've been
weird to say. They've been really healthy for the last 2 years. You could argue they've been healthy as well, which testament to the high performance department and such specifically on that side. I know the pitching side we'll talk about in a bit, but I want to stay on the hitting side for a bit. PCA is probably the MVP of the first half. He's MVP, arguably, of baseball aside from Shohei Ohtani. In that sense, he's just been unbelievable. You can pull up any stat you want on him. I mean, I think that he's just been incredible. I think the discipline, again, part of the reason we're saying that the Cubs are walking 11% of the time is that Pete is hitting versus lefties and righties, and Pete is walking. So within that walk rate that is the highest in baseball for the Cubs, you have Pete Armstrong, who's walking more than he ever has, and probably anyone ever expected him to do as a prospect.
We were talking about this early on in the season, and we were saying, you know what? If Pete is a 320, 330 on-base guy with an 8% walk rate, he's going to be a 6-7 WAR player and will be more valuable than he was last season. And if you look at this right here from our friend Michael, the podcast, Pete Armstrong has officially been worth more WAR halfway through the season this year, 5.5, than he was in all of 2025. 5.4. And he was really, really good in 2025. He was a top 10 MVP candidate. So I think that if Pete ends the season like 330, 340 on base, it's a success. He's at 380 right now. So let's say it's 380 for the rest of the season. His on-base percentage would be over 90 points higher than it was last year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we could talk Pete all the time. We do. I feel like we mention him on every pod, but I feel like we have other pods that serve him better. I think he's been unbelievable. He's the best hitter on this team.
Well, one more thing. What has surprised you most about outside of the walks? Is it swings decisions? Is it hitting against left-handed pitching?
I think the lefty point is good because I do feel like we had the conversation last year about Michael Busch, where it was like, he's great, and we have this very small sample of him versus lefties where he's been good, so play him versus lefties more. Whereas I think the approach is more that, from the data perspective, and people are going to hate this, but it's really hard to just assume a guy is going to get better by seeing more of something. But in reality, that's probably the only way they get better. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But the reason I think the Cubs did not let Michael Busch hit lefties last year was that he wasn't good versus them. But the argument was from like I won't even say the old school perspective. The logical argument there is
he will get better against lefties if he sees more lefties.
But the problem is you're going to bleed wins as you do that. You're just going to bleed run production. So are you willing to accept that? The reason I think Pete has gotten better versus lefties is that he can play center field every day. So you can accept the fact maybe he's not going to be great for lefties.
It's not going to matter. He's going to play all 162, and if he's bad against lefties, you'll hit him 9.
And I know Bush is a good first baseman, but from a total defensive value standpoint, it's not as valuable to have a great first baseman defensively as it is center fielder by a wide margin, I would say. So that's why it's just not as valuable to let Bush see lefties or let a lot of players see lefties. But I think maybe Pete proves you're a good hitter, you're young enough, and you play good defense, even average defense. Maybe teams should have a little more leeway in giving guys lefty at bats. That's kind of where I come down on it. It's kind of an interesting angle that I'm not sure on. It's very nuanced. Seiya Suzuki is a name that I got to shout out. I know it's been a weird season for him. He's been really good. He's like the third most valuable hitter on this team. The barrel rate's down slightly, which gets to a larger point around this team. I get they're walking a lot. Their barrel rate is 21st in baseball right now. Slug is about 13th. That's kind of where it comes down to me is like if this team wants to leap the Dodgers, who we're going to see right around the deadline, you have to slug. Like that team slugs more than the Cubs. And I get they're getting on base, but I worry a little long term with this team. If Seiya doesn't come back, he's in a contract here, he doesn't come back in the future, you have to replace it with barrels.
Yeah.
Like the idea of going out and getting guys who are good defenders with OBP, I don't think you can do that if you need to replace Seiya Suzuki's 15% barrel rate. Like that's going to be really hard to do. So I know I'm looking ahead a bit, but I do think if there's one player you lose in this lineup, it's Seiya. Like you need
he's
the ability to
He's
slug.
the most irreplaceable player in that line. And I love Pete, and I think that he's great, but Seiya provides something in this lineup that other guys simply can't do. When he's on a heater, like if he's the first half of last season where he drove in, 70 runs and was on pace for 40 bombs, that this team can win the World Series.
Yeah, the offense can be that good. And I think that is like the point for me. Is like I don't think the walks are going to go away. The swing decisions are too good. I do wonder if the barrel rate can leap up. And if it falls back a little bit, you're going to run into the same problems where we're like, man, we're just hoping for a bunch of singles with the bases loaded. It's like, I need Happ to go hit a home run. I need Bregman to get going and hit home runs. Like, I need that slug. That's how you blow out teams.
Yeah.
It's not, I get the ball and play stringing together is good, but you need to balance that with power in order to leap over teams, especially if the bullpen doesn't kind of take a leap forward. Dansby Swanson had this crazy production dump, so to speak, in New York where it was like, hey, man, here's the regression we were hoping for. It all came in a 5 or 6 game set, and he's been pretty good since that moment.
It's fun. Like
he's been good this year.
He has.
Despite the fact, again, it's been a roller coaster.
The word and the phrase, like, positive regression, like, doesn't really make that much sense to me. Seems like a very big oxymoron. But, I mean, look at this tweet from Jesse. Dansby Swanson had 26 runs batted in a 10-game span. Only players to do so in a 10-game span within a season since the RBI became official in 1920. Dansby Swanson, Joe DiMaggio, Jimmy Fox, Lou Gehrig, Mel Ott.
Insane list.
It's wild. It's
I love when you get
absolutely
something like this.
wild.
It's crazy.
But with Dansby, we had a conversation with Craig Counsell. I think it was at the beginning of 2025. He's like, you know what? Dansby might struggle for 6 weeks, but then he's going to carry your offense for 3. And then he's going to go through that 2-3 times during the course of the season. And then you're going to look at his numbers at the end of the year. And you're going to see 220 to 240 batting average, 700 to 750 OPS, 20-plus homers, 20-plus steals, 20-plus doubles, and he's going to play 150 games, Gold Glove caliber defense.
Yeah.
Are you taking that?
He's a metronome. You take it all the time.
Are you taking that?
Yeah, he's going to be a 4-hour player.
And he's going to do that every single year. I don't care how he gets there, but the fact that he does it, that's production that you can't replace.
Yep. He's a metronome. Yeah, I think he's one of the more stabilizing forces on this Cubs team for the last couple seasons. Michael Busch, kind of an interesting year. He's only projected right now for about 22 to 25 home runs after being over 30 last year. Bat speed's down a little bit. His walks are up, which is a common theme you see among a lot of players on this team.
Yeah.
They become a little more passive. They're walking more, but a lot of the guys who are more passive aren't barreling the ball as much. So I think there is perhaps some trade-off going on there where it's like, hey, I'm not going to swing as much. And then teams are like, okay, we'll come in zone a little more to you. And then they're not barreling as much because they're not swinging as much or they're getting into more disadvantageous counts. So it's kind of a weird balance. I saw Joey Votto talking about this on MLB Network the other day where when you become more passive as a hitter, pitchers realize it and approach you differently. So I wonder if the Cubs are approaching this from like a, hey, being passive from a swing standpoint and swinging at what you can do damage on is the way to drive run production. But maybe they undersold what happens when you stop swinging.
But
so
I
much,
think
which
that's
is
on
not
an
barreling as much.
individual case-by-case basis.
But we have it on multiple guys on this team.
And what I'm saying is you don't want that for multiple guys. Like you can have
totally
that out of your 6, 7, 2-hole hitters, that's fine. You have Michael Busch as a part of this order. The key number for me is 23. If Michael Busch has over 23 home runs, you're a successful team. Michael Busch has under 23 home runs, you might have issues.
Yeah, I think I want him up at 35.
But that's great. But he's not getting up with 35
fair,
home runs this year, and he's not on pace for 30. He's on pace for I think like 21 and a half.
Yeah, I had him at 22.
You need like a second half where he hits obviously more home runs than he did in the first half. My question for you with Michael Busch is he's on pace for I think like 108 walks. Would you rather have Michael Busch at 22 home runs, 108 walks, and a 380 on-base percentage, or would you rather him at 29 home runs, 75 walks, and a 350 on-base percentage?
I wish I had a calculator right here because this is a math question rather than an opinion.
I'm taking the homer one.
I just want what the math tells me. I don't think I need an opinion on this.
I'm taking the homer one. I'm taking the homer for this lineup. For this lineup specifically. I mean, if you think like
that's I think the point I was going to make is like I think I agree with you where. I can't have every hitter on this team just walking a ton.
Correct.
Like, because that's what we see. We see Seiya's barrel rates down, the walks are up. Bregman's barrel rates down, the walks are up. Bush's barrel rates down, the walks up. And it's like, I don't think I need 8 guys doing that.
You need one barrel.
Everyone's on base.
You need 1 or 2 barrels.
You know? And again, I do think we're getting very nitpicky. They're the second best offense in baseball. They're just getting to it in a weird way. They're getting to it in a way that even the Pirates aren't getting to. The Pirates are barreling the ball a lot more, not walking as much. So they pop in that respect. I think they're a top 5 offense. Kind of surprising.
Which is crazy.
Which is wild to think because they've been pretty bad for the last couple seasons. The Dodgers barrel the ball a ton.
Well, they kind of do everything. They do everything offensively.
Yeah, and that's how it's like I almost wonder, is it a mirage that the Cubs are the second best offense in baseball? I guess that's my question.
I'm not sure if it's a mirage because they don't strike out very often. They put the ball in play a lot, and you think, because you go over stretches where they have been playing well, they are barreling baseballs. Like what they did against the Padres series, they're barreling baseballs. What they did against the Cardinals in that last game on Sunday, they are barreling baseballs. So, yeah, I mean, I think that a big part of it is Pete, just like his offensive growth.
Yeah.
Like if Pete was what he was the second half of the season or over his career stats, this isn't a top 2 offense in baseball.
Yeah, yep. All right, last one for me then. Grade the hitting, just the hitting of this team for the first half of the season. Okay, I was going to go A-. Yeah, I think it's so good. The second in WRC Plus I can't get over, so I got to give them an A. But if they had a higher barrel rate, I think I'd be more confident about them like blowing out teams in the second half. So
I think it's a B plus for me because they're not blowing out teams, and also like the runners in scoring position statistics are far below what the actual statistics are. I still think overall it's been a success. I'm going to go with an 88%. You can't really quite round up to A-. That's like right centered in the B+.
You bring me back to the elementary school days.
Where you can't even round up and say, you go to the teacher, it's like, hey, it's an 89, can you round up? No, we can't.
It's like, can you give me an 87 instead of 86 so I can say my mom I had a B+, not a B?
Exactly.
Anyways, all right, second half of this, we're going to dig into the pitching side of things. That was the hitting side. State of the Union here on the Cubs Now podcast. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Cubs Now podcast, second half of our State of the Union. We're digging into the pitching side. We put it in the B block because it's a little more depressing.
Your favorite.
Yeah, it is my favorite. Unfortunately, it hasn't been that great this year for the Cubs. We're going to start with the elephant in the room. We just had a bazillion injuries.
Yeah.
It's very hard, I think, to analyze the quality of the staff given the bodies we expected to be there when we did our season preview and talked through all the names we were excited about, which were Edward Cabrera and Cade Horton, even Matthew Boyd, have all been limited in some capacity this season. We just got to show you the number of guys on the IL right now. This is, I believe, a couple days before the break. I know, I have to do it. I have to do it. State of the Union, we just got to bring it up. Ben Brown, Tyon's coming back. Edward Cabrera should start throwing after the break. Palencia in a similar situation.
This looks like a notch format right here.
I know. This is like if you just remove 15-day IL and 60-day IL and sorted them by reliever starter, you'd be like, this is a pretty good team right there. That's what the Cubs staff is, right? And we're like, no, these are actually the guys who got injured, unfortunately. Steele down for the year. Horton down for the year. Steele, we're hoping, could be back late. Hunter Harvey, Shelby Miller, we saw throwing in the ACL. So a lot of guys rehabbing, but I mean, this is the story.
Yeah,
like, we're going to get into some specific names, underperformance, some guys who've been good, but you can't talk about it without bringing up the injury side. It's impressive they've maintained the success they have, but how much do you think it's going to be a problem down the stretch if these guys aren't locked in?
They got to get arms.
I agree with you.
They got to get arms. I mean, the way that I would put in, this might be a little graphic, it is bandaged but not bled out.
Okay, cool.
It is not a complete disaster.
Yeah.
They're still managing. They're still going to be over 500 when the All-Star break hits. They're going to be in a playoff race, playoff contention. But you look at this list, it is Cade Horton, he was number 2 in the NL Rookie of the Year voting. It was Justin Steele, who we thought was going to be back in May, in June. He's probably back in August, in September. Your main free agent signing, Hunter Harvey in the bullpen. We haven't seen very much of him, and we probably won't see very much of him. Ben Brown, who was awesome.
Yeah,
I mean,
unbelievable season.
Awesome in April.
That one hurts the
May,
most. Yeah.
And early June, we saw like the rise of an ace, and now he's hurt. Daniel Palencia, who was so good in the World Baseball Classic for Venezuela, you thought he was primed for a huge year, 30 saves. He's been on the injured list twice. Like, it could be an unmitigated disaster. It very well may well still be an unmitigated disaster, but right now they are treading water.
Yeah, so 20th in ERA, thereabouts. These stats were a couple of days before the actual break, but I think they're not going to move that much. 20th in ERA, 25th in FIP, which is kind of an ERA predictor. Bottom 10 in K rate. Good on the walk rate side of things. They're top 10.
Yeah, they don't walk
from a
many
positive
guys.
walk rate standpoint. And again, back to the barrel side, they have allowed the second highest barrel rate. The teams that are around on that barrel rate list are not good teams.
No.
So I'm not even going to tell you the teams
they are the anomaly of that list.
Yeah, they've given up a lot of barreled balls, which is ironic given the offense isn't barreling the ball, and also incredibly ironic given they're still a good team despite those two things going in opposite directions. So that's kind of the encapsulation of it. The bullpen has kind of been average in everything, which is kind of been the driving force, given, again, the injuries. Really impressive. They're also giving up a ton of barrels, so that's just how you've run into some of these late-game situations where they've just allowed a couple homers late, or the bullpen kind of implodes, allows some doubles down the line, and then all of a sudden the 4 runs you scored in the first 5 innings are not enough to preserve the lead. You want to go into specific players. Ben Brown, from a weighted runs created from a WAR standpoint, on the pitching side using Fangraphs here, Ben Brown still has 2 WAR. He's double that of the second most valuable pitcher on the Cubs, which is perfect tie between Matt Boyd and Shota right now. And then you have no one else above 0.5 WAR. Yes. So you have a bit of a problem in that respect. Again, we're not entirely surprised seeing that with the pitching injuries. If you had to give like a pitching MVP to someone in the first half, it's Ben Brown.
It's Ben. But if you're going like, who is the player?
Who's
and
an
the pitcher,
active MVP?
But who is somebody who has kept the train on the track?
There you go.
And it's Javier Assad.
Okay, I was going to say, like, I know Colin Ray hasn't been great this season. I think his ERA is above 4.5. The peripherals aren't good. But he's had a lot of instances where someone goes down, he's in there, and he gives up like 3 earned through 5, which, listen, the driving force of this this team is the offense.
Yeah.
So if Ray's going to give you that,
can
it's
five and dive it, like keep me in the game, the game.
It's not a good ERA, which is what I'm saying, but if you're not expecting him to be in this spot for you, for Colin Ray to be that force, and he's thrown into it, I think I would take 5 with 3 earned.
Well,
It's not good, but I would take it.
There's a couple starts for for Colin Ray that stick out to me. Remember when the Cubs were on their 10-game losing streak and they went out to Pittsburgh, they snapped the 10-game losing streak, they had a win, and they had an opportunity to split the series in Pittsburgh. It was Colin Ray against Paul Skeens.
I remember this,
And Colin Ray won. Colin Ray threw 5 scoreless. Skeens gave up 3 runs, and they won that game. He also had a really good start against Jacob Mizorowski when they were up in Milwaukee. He just always steps up in those type of roles. I think Colin Ray's been very valuable. I talked about Javier Assad being really valuable.
It's another
For the most part, I think Shota's been pretty good.
He's had this pocket of starts, where there's pitchers who occasionally do this. I remember it was at Jesus Luzardo with the Phillies last year who allowed like 14 earned runs in 2 starts. Yeah. And it was like the rest of the season he was amazing. I feel like Shota has done that, but he's just spread it out a little bit.
His pocket's a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So for Shota, his first, I think it was his 7 or 9 starts were great. And then he had a 4 or 5 star pocket where it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
And really like the last 3, 4 leading up to the All-Star break, he hasn't been great, but he's been pretty darn good. He's been stable. He gives you innings. He's on pace for 175 innings.
He's a logging
which
innings,
is huge.
Which is big. I do think that's a great point. It's just at the end of the day, you got to cover 1,400 innings or so to get across 162 games.
So if he's giving you like 14% of those, you need a guy like that. You need an innings eater. You need an innings eater, and it can't just be Colin Ray, who was a fringe guy.
Yeah, and Matt Boyd. I mean, I think we would have been singing his praises a lot more if he just stayed healthy and didn't run into kind of the little setback he had in his rehab and such. To me, he feels like the X factor, and it's weird because I do think Eric Cabrera is a layup X factor. Getting like anybody back and healthy is probably
especially
some kind
somebody
of X
who throws
factor.
98, 99, and the rest of your rotation.
I feel like Cabrera's underperformed a little. It's been a bit disappointing, I think, from what we were expecting standpoint from him, but there's still time for him to kind of reverse that. Second half, if he's strong, we're singing his praises into the offseason, saying he's the 2 behind hopefully steals kind of a full go Matthew Boyd. I believe he's a mutual next year, so we'll see exactly what happens in that situation. But if you were to look ahead, second half here, the most important pitcher, can be reliever, can be starter for the Cubs. Who is it?
Daniel Palencia.
Yeah.
They need that guy in the back end of their bullpen, and if he's healthy and he's right, like you get to the 8th inning and it's a 3-2 game, you get to the top of the 9th, you get to the bottom of the 9th, he's your guy. Like right now, Jacob Webb has done a marvelous job.
Webb's been unbelievable,
picking the pieces of the puzzle up for this team, being a back end of the bullpen guy, having 2 saves where he goes 2 innings or more. Like I think he's been huge, but if Jacob Webb is your 8th inning guy and a healthy Daniel Palencia is your 9th inning guy, like that's a good back end of the bullpen. So for Palencia, I mean, I think he's a big one, and I completely agree with you. I think Matthew Boyd, if he can be...
He just logs in and he's always good. There's no variance. So it's a matter of just like, I just need him to get to 80 innings in the second half.
Well, remember, Matthew Boyd was a former 200 strikeout guy with the Tigers. Matthew Boyd made the All-Star team with the Cubs last year. Matthew Boyd, since coming off the injury list, his first 3 starts, a 1.75 ERA.
Yeah,
so if he can be 70% of the Matthew Boyd that he was in 2025, that's a huge, an enormous lift for this starting rotation.
I think my X factor is David Peterson. And it's a weird one because the peripherals are pretty good. I know he had a great start, he had a bad start. Like, I do feel like we're still trying to solve the Peterson puzzle to some extent. It's a good alliteration there by me. Because the Mets tried to solve it. I think they're a good pitching development org. I know they've had some guys lapse this year, Freddie Peralta and others. Yeah. They're not playing well, but I do think they have some sharp minds there. So they've clearly tried some things with Peterson to get him on track. It may really just be that the Mets defense wasn't good, and this guy's on the ground so much, you now put him in a spot.
But he hasn't been on the ground since he's come over to the Cubs.
Yeah, and it's only a couple starts. We'll see exactly how things pan out. But I feel like he could be the guy who just rips off like 10 to 15 starts, 3.5 ERA. It's not a lot of strikeouts. It's on the ground a lot.
If he does that, if he's 10 to 15 starts and a 3.5 ERA, this team's going to win 95 games.
Yeah, and that's he feels to me like the higher variance guy. Like, my expectations for Cabrera are very high in the second half, so I'm kind of just assuming he's going to be good. I'm assuming Boyd's going to be good. I'm assuming Shota evens out.
He's fine.
The expected. So the X factor is like the guy who could swing either direction. Peterson is the acquisition for me, and I'm curious to see if they make another acquisition.
So
how the chips fall after
that was going to be my question.
Yeah.
Is the X factor for this Cubs pitching staff in the second half not on the team?
Yeah, it's a fun question. I would say no, and I don't know if that's hesitant. I do feel like the way they will approach the deadline will be very 2025-y, where it is a Soroka-type pitcher. I'm not saying they're going to go acquire Mike Soroka. I'm saying in that vein of like, oh, we didn't really hear about him. That seems like a good acquisition. They have a tweak. He's good. It's like that bet where they're like, we're not going to go get a Joe Ryan, not going to get a Skubal, which I would love for them to get, obviously.
Logan Webb.
Yeah, I think they're going to more rationally approach it. And then, again, I think they seem to lay the foundation for big trades at the deadline as you enter the offseason. They did this with Cabrera, obviously had conversations prior to that deal happening. They did this with Kyle Tucker. So I say the most important thing that will happen at the deadline for the Cubs will be the pitching conversation we don't hear about. Is that a conversation between Hoyer and Buster Posey around the package for Logan Webb that they can't square at this point in time, but they square in December? That's kind of where I'm looking at it. So I don't want to say I'm going to be.
But that doesn't
I'm
help
setting
you
my,
in 2026.
I know it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't, and that's where I'm kind of tempering my expectations because we don't see them go out and make aggressive moves that go away from the model. We see them make smart moves, and a lot of the time, the smart moves are not the ones that we get like really fired up about. So I think I'm going into the deadline more measured. So I guess my answer to your question is no. Yeah, it's got to be yes for you.
So you
right?
don't think like a Freddie Peralta, Sonny Gray. Like I know you've talked about controllable arms. I know Sonny Gray has I believe a mutual option in 2027. But the guys that I brought up with those two. I mean, you look at the San Diego Padres right now. If they sell, not from a starting rotation standpoint, I mean their bullpen is phenomenal.
Yeah, I think they acquire a bullpen arm and a starter. I would say that it's not one of the top 3 or 4 arms acquired at the deadline by any team.
So not the Adrian Moore.
Listen, I would love for it to happen. I'm trying to set my expectation because I feel like when you set them level and you're super excited, then we can have a great podcast where I'm like popping some of those confetti things because I was wrong. I would be happy to be wrong in this instance in that respect. So anyways, that's our State of the Union with the Cubs. Pretty good team overall. I know we're kind of poo-pooing the pitching side, not the greatest outcomes.
You are in a playoff race. You're going to be around 10 games over 500. Like, this is what was supposed to happen in the first half, although not the way that it was supposed to happen.
I agree. Hitting's been great, pitching not so much. Second half here is going to be a lot of fun. Alex Cohen, Lance Brozdowski will have you covered on the Cubs Now pod. Thank you, as always, for joining us.